We all feel anxious sometimes, whether it's your heart racing, waiting for an important phone call, your hands sweating when you meet new people, or your voice cracking when you're about to tell someone you like them. But when does this worrying turn into an everyday episode of not being in control? When does it become so unrealistic that it crosses the line between nervous and dangerous? Anxiety is a bigger part of me as the colour of my eyes or the sound of my voice. It's just always there. Some days I feel fine, but other days it's like I'm suffocating in a ball pit of my own thoughts. Every thought a bullet, every move a punch, every word a stab to the chest. Anxiety is a thief. It steals everything you could once do, everything that used to be so easy and normal, and now the things that keep you trapped. It's the murder of who I used to be, alive but dead, in a sea of emotions drowning every day. It's crazy how my fears went from spiders and heights, or even monsters under the bed, to unexpected phone calls, talking to anyone, going to the store, people laughing around me, eating in public, but above all, my greatest fear is my own mind. But what happens when, as previously stated, it doesn't go away? How do we know if what we're feeling is just prolonged feelings of pressure due to significant amounts of stress, or in fact the false premise that something can and will go wrong if given enough time? And how do we deal with this? How do we escape the feeling that our own lives will inevitably succumb to something less than they are now? Now, depending on how we deal with this, our lives will change greatly. But one thing remains invariable: we all deal with this. We all deal with anxiety and stress in different ways. Some could be considered a great help, and others not so much. See, the problems that arise from anxiety do not stem from anxiety itself. They stem from our coping mechanisms, our way of dealing with these problems, in a way that is deemed morally and socially acceptable, but not everyone can do that. See, people will often deal with the stress of everyday life in ways that are deemed unacceptable, and this happens a lot more often than people realise. But these poisonous methods of coping with our anxiety fly under the radar, due to one simple but globally recognised fact: self-justification. What happens when our coping methods that are so obviously a severe detriment to our well-being, whether that be physical or mental, are allowed to continue? What happens when we ratify these decisions, whatever they may be, under the false belief that they are not a hindrance, but are in fact something to be embraced as a social advantage, an exception? They turn our anxiety into an excuse to further floor our attempts at bettering our lives, and suddenly our anxiety is now fuel to our demons. What we had once hoped to get rid of is now seen as a tool to do just that. And so begins a vicious cycle, constantly justifying our poisonous acts with the premise that I need these things to escape my anxiety and problems, not realising that the further you delve into these indiscretions, the more and more anxious you will become about freeing yourself from them. It's all a matter of perception. And so I drink and smoke my fear away, in the hope that when I wake up tomorrow, it won't come back. That this time, my demons will stay away, and alcohol will wash them out for longer than a night. This is the only thing I've tried that somewhat works, but here I am, finally talking about my problems, and letting them out in the open. Maybe this will be what works, and maybe that's how we should all start, by letting people know. I have anxiety.